Hey, what's up guys, it's Bakes here and thank you for joining me for this episode of my random horror reviews. Today's movie is a film from 1999. It's a film that's my jam, and I say that because it's an animal horror movie, and I've said this so many times on my channel before. I grew up loving animal horror movies, and I still do now, but like whenever we went to the video rental store growing up, it's all I wanted to grab. When I first started collecting, I just wanted to have them all. It's just purely because I obviously grew up loving horror movies, and I also grew up loving animals, and I still do now, but the first job I ever wanted to do was be a zookeeper. My idol was Steve Irwin. I had all of his movies. I literally remember crying the day he died. I'm not even ashamed to say it, it was a dark day. But let's not think back on that. I love Steve Irwin, and for that particular reason, particularly reptiles, I've owned lizards and turtles and stuff like that, and I love killer crocodile movies and killer snakes and everything, and that's a perfect introduction into today's movie. As I said, from 1999, here we have Lake Placid, one of the most notorious killer crocodile movies, up there with Alligator and Rogue, I guess, as well. But before we get into my thoughts of this movie, let's get into the plot. So, this movie takes place in New England, and I think the first incident is this diver. He's going in to track beavers, and he ends up getting bitten in half, and it's got the typical, it's probably a bear and stupid stuff like that. It obviously wasn't a bear, it happened in the middle of a fucking lake. But things like that is going on, and eventually, Fish and Wildlife gets called in, and a paleontologist and whatever, and it turns out to be a 30-foot crocodile. And that's pretty much the plot here. It turns into this sort of action, adventure, horror. This group is put together to help take out this crocodile in this New England lake. So that's pretty much the plot for this movie. As I said, I just grew up loving animal horror movies, and this is one I kind of grew up with. I feel like I'm surprised I didn't see it earlier. I wasn't too old the first time I saw this movie, but it was a little bit past my animal horror movie prime that I saw this movie, but always been one that I'm happy to go back and rewatch. So today's movie, 1999's Lake Placid. So like I covered there in my introduction, this movie's a fun action adventure mixed with obviously horror and creature feature and everything. I've even seen in a couple of places have it listed as a dark comedy, and definitely at moments it goes into dark comedy, very dark, but I wouldn't say it's, comedy as a main forefront. As I said, most of the fun comes from the fact that it's this adventure and this, misfit group put together to take out something that is very foreign to New England, being a 30-foot crocodile, and quite foreign to everywhere. I don't think a lot of people on the weekly are going up against a 30-foot crocodile, but either way, most of the fun comes from that. Also really suspenseful. While I was rewatching this movie, I was thinking, is there any other type of suspense that is more impactful than, something lurking in the water? Think of these killer shark movies, killer crocodile, whatever, when there's a creature in the water. Is there something more suspenseful than watching a character bob on the top and you don't know what's underneath them? It's fucking terrifying. Obviously, Jaws probably did it the best. But even in this movie, the characters are bobbing on this pitch black water, and you're like, oh, something's gonna fucking pop up, you know it. I really feel like there's nothing more suspenseful than that in horror, at least for me. I'm not scared of the water or anything, but when you don't know what's swimming down underneath you, it's fucking terrifying. And as I said, this movie does a really good job with its suspense, with its fun. It's sort of everything that you can imagine from a killer crocodile movie from the late 90s. So the crocodile in this movie is a mixture of CGI and practical effects. The moments of CGI are a little bit on and off. There are moments where it looks really spotty. Overall, I feel like the practical isn't too bad. I've heard some people say it doesn't hold up, but obviously I'm going to choose practical over CGI majority of the time. And to be fair, I do feel like it looks pretty good, the practical, so I'll leave it at that. The characters in this movie, I feel like the characters are fine. I was about to say memorable, they're fairly memorable, but I'm not sure if I'd go that far. They're probably just memorable to me because I've seen this movie so many times. But the characters are fine, they're passable. There are moments where the human plot points and stuff going on get a little bit cheesy, and certain jokes and typical human stuff gets a little bit played out. But overall, I feel like the characters are at least fine. My favorite character, or side character, I guess, is Betty White's character in this movie, and the whole situation going on with her character is pretty funny, but also honestly pretty dark. And I guess that's where the dark comedy comes into play, because what she's doing, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's actually kind of creepy and like fucked up and everything. But it's also Betty White doing it, so you sort of let it slide. I don't know, but yeah, the human characters in this movie passable. The crocodile at moments, it's on and off depending on the CGI and practical what you get, but overall that serves up pretty well, and I have fun with it. So looking at a movie like this at a technical standpoint, going up against some of the great creature features or animal horror movies like Jaws or even Rogue, which I think a lot of people just put Rogue into the category of those fun killer crocodile movies, and don't get me wrong, it's fun, but I definitely think Rogue is slept on and much better than what a lot of people remember it being. And I should cover Rogue one day because I fucking love Rogue, but either way, 100% it's not technically on the level of those two and a few more out there. But at the end of the day, this movie's fucking entertaining, and that's all you really want from a movie, however long the runtime is. I think this movie's like only 80 minutes. But yeah, for the 80 minutes that you're watching a film, you just want to be entertained and have your time occupied and, have a good time, and that's what you get with this one. As I said, also only an 80-minute runtime, so it just flies by. Super rewatchable as well, as I've spoken about so many times, so I'm going to give Lake Placid an 8 out of 10. Yeah, just a fun killer crocodile movie. I'm sure a lot of people have seen it as well. I was just thinking before, through my time on YouTube and doing the random horror reviews, I covered all of the Anaconda movies, and I've spoken about so many times Anaconda and Anaconda 2, two of the movies I watched religiously growing up. And the last movie I did from the Anaconda franchise was Anaconda versus Lake Placid, so somehow I wasn't even thinking I've just crossed over into the Lake Placid franchise now, so maybe I gotta continue doing them. Unfortunately, this is like the only good Lake Placid movie. It kind of sucks that 2, 3, 4, I'm not sure how many they ended up doing, all kind of suck, but this one at least is entertaining. But thank you for joining me again, guys. If you've seen Lake Placid, let me know your thoughts of it. Maybe if you have like an underrated killer animal movie that I haven't checked out, let me know in the comments, guys, and maybe that's something I can get around to. But thank you for joining me for this episode, guys, and I'll see you for another video soon. Peace.